Yo, YouTube, and wherever you are listening to us, welcome back to another Greatest Pod of All, episode 5. This guy's Garth, that guy's CJ, and together we are the Greatest Pod of All. How you doing, bud?
Together,
I haven't seen you this week, mate. You've been gallivanting all over the country. You've been winning titles in WA. You've been missing training on Monday night, and then I wasn't there last night. Had work on, so where you been, mate? You've been all over.
mate. I'm just in demand, aren't I? I think.
Yeah.
Over to Perth for the weekend, doing the other love of our life, mate. Doing the wrestles and came away with the title, which was nice. So,
how was that experience? It was your first time over with that company. What was the company like?
Yeah, it was good, mate. Really, really good crew. Really, really welcoming. I had a really fun match. And just a good experience. Like, I'd never been to Perth before, so on the Sunday, the people I was staying with over there, we went into the Perth CBD so I could have a look around, and drove past up the stadium and the Wacker and those things, and then lunch by the water, which is beautiful. So,
nice.
And then back on the red eye on Sunday night, got stung $45 for me luggage because the belt.
Oh, get out! Really?
So had to claim that as an expense later on, mate. So
wow!
But
so
you
won. You won. So that means you'll be going back and doing some more work over there. They obviously keen to have you back.
Well, it was the only win we got this weekend, mate, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So we had to have a silver lining somewhere. So I got the cream on the weekend, mate. As we say.
You got the cream. We didn't get the cream.
As we say, in the greatest pod of all. But as we're going to discuss today, mate, our boys in the hoops didn't quite get the job done. But that's okay. It's a new week. Big week for footy.
And also we got the last home game for the Ormo Bulldogs this week. Hoping to get up for a win in our last home game. I think you guys won this is before my time. You guys beat them in the early rounds this year by maybe a couple of points. It was a close game, wasn't it? So, we're hoping.
But this is a bit personal for me because Maruka is my old side, so I've played a couple.
Keen to have a big one.
So, and I might suggest that there's still some money outstanding that I haven't been paid. So,
all right.
Just keep an eye for that.
Feed CJ. Just feed CJ all night. All right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Front mate all night, and I'll get there pretty quick.
Well, it's going to be a good game to see how we stack up because it's obviously, like I said, before my time playing with the team. I've only come in the last month or so. But from what I've seen the last 3 weeks since I've been there, it's been very encouraging signs of looking like a team that's playing proper footy now. So be a good indication to see how far the team actually has come compared to that game in the beginning of the year.
Ladies and gentlemen, since he's come in and played off the halfback flank, we've been a complete side. So he's being humble. Look at him.
You're pumping me up. Yeah, you're pumping me up big time. I'm not going that good.
Who was last week? I think it was.
Wow.
Best six, mate. You had your best game of the year against probably one of the toughest sides in the comp.
I had a couple of touches.
Yeah. Mate.
No, just enjoying playing. We've got 2 games to go, so let's see. Hopefully get a couple of wins. Hopefully we get a win on Friday, and then we can test ourselves against one of the better teams in the comp and see how much we have improved again.
Yeah, mate.
We went well against 2 of the top teams, so we'll see how we go against another good team as well. So looking forward to the game, bro. But let's talk big news in the AFL now. We normally talk the way this podcast works. If you're watching us for the first time, we normally like to talk a bit about the big news in the AFL of the week and what's been happening around the competition. Then we like to get a bit Geelong-centric and talk about what's happening with us, review the game from last week, preview the game coming up, talk about how we can get the cream and how we might lose one of our 9 lives. And then we do something random at the end, which you've got some questions for me at the end, which hopefully you've got. But let's get started. So the big news of the competition in the AFL, and it's Geelong-centric, is that Chris Scott breaks the all-time coaching record for the Geelong Football Club. 305. He's on 304 now. 305 is the record.
305 will be the record, mate.
Yeah, takes the record off the great Reg Hickey. who obviously has a stand, and we'll just replace his name with Chris Scott's, obviously. So that'll happen next week, I'm assuming.
Yeah, no, it's a pretty special week for the footy club, mate. And like you say, we normally don't go too early on the Geelong talk, but I think the fact that the AFL itself has recognised Scotty for the work that he's done, and that he's actually going to break the record. I think budget as well. So
Yeah.
obviously last week, the talk of the talk of the dirt sheets has been Brodie Grundy again playing in the VFL, and the Grundy or the Gaundy experiment that they've got.
And the Harley Cup, and saying he's not going to West Coast. They've kind of been big stories around, but
yeah. No, I think
the
on the scale of things, it's certainly the topic, and there's certainly a few things to discuss there about our coach. So
my memories of Chris Scott coming to the club was obviously, and I think most people were in the same boat, was the shock of the Mark Thompson exit, as it came really suddenly, and then the surprise at who we got to take the job, because at the time we'd come off the 2009 grand final. 2010 didn't go the way we thought it was going to go. The whole Gary Ablett talk, all that sort of stuff that put a lot of pressure on the coach and the team, distractions, all that sort of stuff. And then we're still in the window. We're thinking we got a team that can definitely challenge, and we get an untried coach to come in and take over the team in 2011. It was a very surprising time for the club. What'd you make? Do you have memories of when it first all happened?
Yeah, mate. It was a big year for us, 2010, wasn't it?
Massive.
In terms of, I thought 2010 we played as good footy as any year, but didn't get the rewards in the end, and it just it almost became like another turning point for us as a footy club. So obviously we talked about the review quite a fair bit in 2006 and everything else.
Yeah.
And the changes that were made there, which then got us on that trajectory to where we sit in 07 and 09. But 2010 was, I would say, it's probably just as tough for the footy club as a whole. So, you've got the talk all year of the best player of the last.
Yeah, that was the big news of the year, wasn't it? Is Gary going? Is he not going? And Mark Thompson came out and talked about it. It obviously put a strain on their relationship at the time. It clearly was a distraction behind closed doors, even though they said it wasn't, because it was the first kind of time that anything like this had happened. It was the first expansion club, so no one had really gone through it before. And then obviously, Bomber Thompson being the great coach that he was, for him to leave, we just thought, well, where does that leave the team?
And it's funny how back then everyone was talking up that was the beginning of the slide for us.
Yeah,
that
we were old back then too.
Then the way that we've been described, even probably this year, and I think in parts last year as well.
Mm-hmm.
It's taken 13 years for that to happen, to the point where, this is only the second time that we've been in the bottom half of the top 8, the last year being 2018.
That's right, yeah.
So it's a lot of teams would be happy to finish 6th.
Yeah.
Every year,
being one of them.
have a crack at the finals, and we've sat up there, and we had a big, we lost Gary, and Bomber wasn't too far away afterwards, and I think if we hadn't had that review in 06, the club would be in a lot worse sport and lost a lot worse spot in terms of going through a process of finding a new coach and what they'd be looking for in a new coach that is going to be what we've now come to know as the Geelong way.
I mean, it was a bold choice at the time. I mean, untried coach. I mean, there were people around him to obviously, and he talks about it himself, how he was very well supported when he came into the club, um, and didn't really rock the boat too much, just sort of came in and from the outside looking in sort of said what he saw as being this really great football team and just tweaked a few things. And the players took to that as a real positive and went, okay, this guy's not coming in to tell us we're bad. He's coming in to just go, you guys are good. You guys got to just change a few things, and we're on here. And that sort of energized the group. A new voice, a new message with a few tweaks, and the rest was history. He went on and won it in his first year.
Mate, the scary thing about that? Chris Scott was 34 when he became a senior
Yeah,
coach.
it's crazy. I think he'd only done, maybe he was in his second year with Fremantle. So
Yes.
he hadn't had a lot of experience even after he retired in the coaching space. I mean, he himself says he's a bit of a footy nuffy and watched a lot of footy and
Yeah.
thought about the game. But in terms of the skills of being a senior coach or even an assistant coach, he didn't have a lot going for him. So it was a really bold choice to pick him in the first place and actually give him the job untried, untested with a group that you're still trying to, think you can get a premiership. I mean, the equivalent would be if Chris Scott had left last year and we replaced Chris Scott with an untried coach and tried to win the 2022 premiership with the list we had, which we thought was good enough, and said, there you go, an untried coach, take them to the grand final. Just when you look back, you think, oh, wow, it's pretty mind-blowing that they went that way.
It's crazy. And as we're going to move on to discuss, plenty of times we didn't think we'd probably be where we are now with him at the helm, and here we are. So
yeah, where do you sit on Chris Scott? Like, I think a lot of people, Geelong fans, can be accused of being very down when things go wrong and can be very high when things go well. And he's always said things aren't as bad as they seem when you're going bad, and they're probably not as good as you're going when you're going well. But were you one of the people that sort of jumped on and off the Chris Scott bandwagon, or were you always a fan and have been the whole way through?
No, I've always been pretty well behind somebody. And there's the odd occasion where, I mean, mate, 2020 grand final was one of them where, where I'm sitting for the game is in the Geelong cheer squad end, and everything's happening in the midfield, and you got Dangerfield standing 20 meters away from me down forward.
Yeah.
And you just wonder, as we all do, what are they thinking up there,
Yeah, I know. But, I mean, David King has come. I remember listening to some commentary, and I kind of agreed with it a little bit in that sometimes. Hey,
David King on this podcast. David King has had it in for Geelong since.
Oh, I'm not as bad. I'm not as harsh on Kingy. I rate his opinion, and he praises us when we do things well. He also he does criticize when things go badly as well. But he sometimes has said that sometimes Scotty can be accused of maybe trying to win it in the coach's box and not just put the magnets where they should be, which is what you're saying. The Dangerfield thing and a few moves here and there. Sometimes,
but I think the other side of that is, mate, that if you listen to interviews with so many other past and present coaches, the one common denominator has been that Chris Scott is a really hard coach to coach against.
Yes. Yeah, I think he's become.
We know that with it, he's the king of the late change and starting players in different positions, to start games but I think that just shows you how well he knows his charges, and he knows what he's going to get out of the degree that he puts on the park each week. So
yeah, I think he's become a better coach in the last, probably since 2020. I think the last 3 years has probably been his best coaching. I think he's probably tried less and done more. Like the moves that he's made have been not knee-jerk sort of game day changes to just kind of flip a magnet and try to pull a rabbit out of the hat kind of thing. But the changes he's made with the team and the players that he's got, like he said, he's gone back to the drawing board last year and even the year before. I think when they sort of went, like, what can we do and how can we move players and make them more versatile to actually be more dangerous rather than, I think in that middle period of his coaching, he did kind of pull some rabbits out of the hat to try to, fool the opposition, and it didn't always come off. And obviously, people knocked us for the game style we played in the Richmond years, but and we were slow, and we then Melbourne came along and we got torched. But people have got to remember that the reason we were playing that style of football was not because we wanted to play that style of football. It was because we were trying to control the ball with Richmond, and Richmond was the king of the jungle at the time, and that game plan was to be slow the ball down, take the chaos off the game, and it was designed to beat Richmond. And we did do that in those years. One of the few teams to do it. Had them 20 points down twice in a prelim and in a grand final. So we came this close. And again, that was a masterstroke from Scotty that almost got us there.
Yeah, no, everything's 100% right, mate. And I just think, he's probably, and I think, even over that time too, there was a few transitions in and out of the coaching box as well. Because sometimes I think as much as players need to hear a new voice, sometimes the coach needs to hear new voices as well. And
Yeah.
I think in the last 2 years, the changes that we've made off the field as well have only made his job easier, which I think just means he can just focus on just being the best coach he can be, which incidentally, he is the best coach we've ever had. So.
Yes, absolutely. And I think the point that doesn't get sold enough about Scotty and his coaching is if you look at that list that we've got, think about the Stephen Wells factor, and that's obviously hats go off to Stephen Wells. In Wells we trust, but all these Category B rookies, these players we've got from Ireland, Blixarves as a steeple chaser. We picked guys out of, the bush leagues, Tom Stewart, those kind of guys. These are not all traditionally drafted through the AFL draft or traded with other clubs. These are players that he has moulded into AFL standard and top level AFL players. Mm-hmm. So you can give some credit to Stephen Wells for drafting him in the first place, but that I don't think that gets spoken enough about. We just talk about Tom Stewart being a great player, Mark Blissarves being a great player, Mark O'Connor being an elite player for us in our game and so important to our team. They came from nowhere to be the great players they are, and that's got to be credit to Chris Scott, surely, and the coaching staff 100%. As well. But Chris Scott for sure.
Yeah, no, 100%. No coach gets to that sort of record without having the help he's had from a good board, from a good CEO, from a good head of football, from everyone around him. So, and I think a lot of that was put into place over the journey to try and get the best out of him. So, again, you can't underrate how much the voices around him have contributed to his voice as a senior coach.
Yeah.
And again, like we always say, mate, we've been pretty spoiled as football.
Very spoiled. Yeah, I think that's
over the journey. So
yeah. I think that the venom that Chris Scott has gotten has been less about him and his coaching and more about the fact of just how hard they are to win. And when you get so close so many times, you just want to vent and take it out on someone. And I think he cops the brunt of a lot of Geelong supporters who, when we lose, want to throw the baby out with the bathwater and say, "Oh, we new coach, new play the kids." Not all, but there's a majority of
the. That's a really good point in the
loud minority.
We've seen it, mate. So at the end of the day, wins and losses, the way you play doesn't matter. It's the result at the end that matters. And the result at the end comes down to it always falls back on the coach. Always. Because there's so many things you can take out of a result of a game of football, but ultimately it comes back onto the coach. And, they're out there where, it's just amazing, this achievement, in the sense of, I personally think that coaching Geelong, taking away coaching the Suns and those things, I personally think that coaching Geelong is the hardest job in footy in terms of a coaching role. I think there's
Like that.
plenty of coaches that would love to do it if they had the chance because of the things we talked
Well, they'd
about.
love to do it now because we're a very strong and
Yeah,
stable club. But when he came in, he didn't know what he was getting into, and you know, and the
no.
change of our list and
But
transitioning those
we go into this for a second. But
champions out of our club,
yeah, no,
not an easy job.
it's not an easy job, mate, because no matter, even if we get a result, there's always going to be there's something to bitch about. You know, oh,
Of course.
should have named this six. What's Scotty doing putting him here? Blah, blah. So even when we win games, Scotty ends up in the firing line.
Yeah.
Personally, I think it's just people that have no clue about football that just follow the hoops, and there's nothing wrong with that either because they're supporters, and that's fine. And if you pay your membership or pay for your ticket, or as we know, mate, you can say whatever you want to say.
Certainly. I think a lot. He deserves so much credit for the longevity. Not just the longevity of being there for that long, but the fact that, like you said, we've been up for so long, and he has rejuvenated that squad, the club as well. I mean, it's not all Scotty, but it's got to be hard to, because obviously the coach doesn't make all of the decisions with list management, but he's part of it. But they still got to transition guys out. They got to bring guys in. They've then got to get them up to the Geelong way, tweak game plans, play guys out of position, so we're not the same team every. It's an extraordinary coaching achievement that he's kept us up for this long. And yeah, I've always been a big fan. I've always enjoyed what we've done, and like we said, we've been very blessed to have such an amazing coach and such an amazing run. Yeah, the disappointment's been harsh. I always wonder about Scotty, and I'd love to see what he's like behind closed doors with the players, because the guy you see on the TV and in the interviews, he's very well spoken, very articulate, very thoughtful, even all his presses and everything. And I know he says he's not a rev up sort of a rant coach, but
Right.
the players love him and they play for him. So yeah, I'd love to know what he's like with the players, whether it's just an arm around them and just fills them with confidence and a bit of love and a bit of pat on the bum and get out there, we believe in you, or does he look people in the eye like he did when he was on the footy field and really you wouldn't want to let him down kind of thing?
I think we've seen parts of it. There's obviously the Sound the Alarm documentary for 2020 where you get to be in the rooms, and there's, it was more Richmond focused, but there was plenty of Geelong in there too. And also the doco last year, Relentless, when we won the flag, you could see the pre-game and the talk too, and all the rest of it. And I think there's, I don't think he's a coach that, there's certainly going to be exceptions where, and he talks about it too. He doesn't coach on emotion. He coaches he coaches like the way you should coach. You coach on obviously the numbers. You coach on facts. You coach on what you can see in front of you. And I think that he's just a really, really good. A big thing about the Geelong Footy Club when we had that first group of kids in 05, 06,
yeah,
a lot of what's come out of it was, you just hear, even Matty Scarlett said it, I think, after the 2011 grand final when they were talking the doco about that, was when Scotty came in, they really, Geelong wanted to really be, after that review, they wanted to be the Brisbane Lions. They wanted to be that hard, that hard nosed, attractive footy, just contested footy, put teams to the sword like Brisbane did. And again, you can just see, over the journey too, we had, you had Scotty in there, you had Nigel Lappin, we had all these players that were now part of the coaching staff that had a big influence on that group, which is then carried over to, as I said before, what we now know as Geelong Way. And
that must have been a weird experience too. Can you imagine being a player who's been retired for 2 years? You probably played against half this mob, smashed them, competed real hard, and then you're coming in as the coach? That must have been a really, really weird experience for both players and coach.
Last game for Brisbane was 2007 at the Gabba against us, and we went up there and flogged them. It was the day that Matty Egan broke his foot, never played again.
Oh, yeah, that was.
But that was Chris Scott's last game as a footballer. And then, not 3 years later, he's he's sitting next to Brian Cook, about to coach the greatest team of all.
So weird.
It's been a journey.
I hope people at the game really acknowledge him well on the weekend. I hope the club really acknowledges him really well. I kind of get the feeling, and I don't know if you feel the same way, I kind of feel with the supporters, I don't feel like he's universally loved. I still don't get that vibe that people are 100% behind him. I think the majority have switched. I think the premiership helped last year. But I kind of feel like... Well, yeah, definitely. I kind of feel like he's going to be one of those coaches that we look back on after his time is up and really go, geez, we had it bloody good with Scotty. You know what I mean? Like, I don't feel like he gets the credit he deserves now. But geez, we're going to look back and go, what an era it was with him. And
they're already talking about another extension for him. So, which I think, I would love to see what he can do with a different side. And I think that I think that'll be really the other side of him as a coach, to see how well he does with a few more players getting in their twilight years and transitioning the list a little bit. But again, we've been in this spot before, and
well, crystal ball for me. Like, let's talk. Like, I think he's signed for another. Is he signed for another 2 years or one? He's end of 20.
I think it's end of 2024. Yeah.
Yeah. So okay. So they might extend him for another year. So okay, crystal ball it. Does he go past 2024? We assume he's going to get one more contract. So let's say he goes. Let's say 2025. Is that it for Scotty? Do you think?
As a coach or at Geelong?
As the coach.
I'm not sure. I think it's way too early. I think we're in a very strange spot as a footy club. I think it's just going to come down to if he's, I think a lot will come down to how we go next year. So if we end up 13th, 14th next year, does he maybe go on, or do we give him the respect of letting him coach the year out?
Yeah.
And starting the process there. I don't know. I just think
it's been a long run.
We've been written before, mate, and we're still kicking on. So
yeah. There's going to be a big transition coming. We've talked about this in previous pods. I'm not surprised if you got me in a time machine and someone said, "Hey, did you hear Scotty just up and pulled pin halfway through the season like a dimmer or something like that?" Just because it made the decision, maybe coached out the year, but just said, "Yeah, I'm gonna walk out." Not in a bad breakup sort of way, but just in a, I've been doing this a long time, and I wouldn't be surprised if history repeats itself and Geelong is brave enough to go, you know what, let's pull an untried guy out of. They always talk about these assistants that never get the shot. They keep going back to the well with the older guys that have been recycled. I wouldn't be surprised if history repeats itself and Geelong goes, yep, let's do the same thing and pull someone unknown that we really think's got a lot of talent. Or does Scotty go, next year's my next year was coaching as the coach, and then I groom, a Corey Enright that comes back to the club, or a...
I think that's too hard, mate. These days, the media game is such that the true story gets out somewhere and it ends up on Footy Classified, and as we saw with Stuart Jew, once it's there, like it was within a week that it was, what they were saying was, was going to happen.
Same thing happened with Dimmer.
So,
yeah.
So look, I think what we'll do, mate, is I think we'll enjoy the weekend, and we'll look forward to hopefully another charge at the finals, as we say. As it stands, so we're still in the running. It's still our flag to lose, in my opinion. So, I'll probably finish this, mate. If you had to sum up Chris Scott as the coach in one word, what would that one word be?
You
give me yours, and I'll give you mine.
I think
or we think of the same one and we move on swiftly.
I think he's been. I think he's very, very laser focused and driven.
One word.
I can't think of another coach that is so is so able to just park the outside noise. Like he just seems to focus so internally on what they're doing, and the outside world just doesn't get to Geelong Football Club at all. And I think that's part of the reason why he's been so successful, because he just values what is happening inside the club and what they know, and the outside noise just doesn't affect him and the coaching stuff. I went with driven.
All right. Me, I'll say polarizing.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, that's fair.
A good sum up, and you've got the run sheet there, mate. So let's move on.
Well, let's go. Yeah. So what we do, we jump in. That was the news of the week. So let's jump into the review of the game. We played the Lions.
I was busy winning on the weekend.
I was busy. Yeah, I was bummed as well. I was like, I had one of those horrible moments where, my missus' brother came up from Sydney, and I've got to hang around and play family, and I was like, any other weekend? You couldn't have come any other bloody weekend. But anyway, we played Brisbane at the Gabba. A weird time slot, 4:35 at the Gabba. Yep. That was a twilight game. They don't do many twilight games at the Gabba. The Suns, that's normally the Suns mode. But we went down by 11 points, 64-53. It was a very, very strange game, man. It was a very, very frustrating game. Credit to Brisbane. They obviously had a game plan, and it worked. It was a strange game. What'd you make of it, man?
Like I said, I didn't get to see a lot of it, mate. I'll obviously watch the mini match to get a feel for it.
I don't think the mini match does it credit, to be fair.
No, I was following the scores on my phone throughout the day and timeline, and I mean, and obviously the group chat that we've got was giving me all the information I really needed.
Yeah. I was giving you some solid feedback.
The game when the group chat was giving me all the info, but like you say, I'm looking at the timeline now, and if you go, let's break down the first quarter, 2-5-17 to 0-3-3.
It was ugly early. It was really ugly. Both teams ugly, to be fair.
You kick those first three, mate, and you're going into quarter time with a point lead. Then coming into the second term.
Link McCarthy kicked one from the boundary right on quarter time. It was an unlucky bounce off Tom Stewart's foot that went out of bounds, and he kicked one right on the back. So it would have been 11 place. It was a nothing quarter. Brisbane, the scoreline flattered Brisbane. They weren't playing that good. We were in it, but we just didn't convert.
Then you look at going into the third. We basically matched them in the third quarter to pull that back, and then we went down by 11 points. But we actually won the fourth quarter in terms of scores.
Yeah, we made a huge comeback in the fourth quarter. Yeah,
2 or 3 of those, and I think you were saying there's a couple of gettable ones that we really should have got. We just did. Looks like
we just set shots that were makeable.
Buddy was the same too, where we kicked 4-3 in the final quarter to 2-1. You kick 6-1, 6-2. It's a different game, isn't it? So
we missed some shots early on that were gettable. Both teams were really poor with their disposal. I think Brisbane was kicking it. I think at some point they got under 50% for their kick percentage. It was horrible early on. Geelong was the same. It was a strange game plan. Geelong just kept trying to attack the corridor, and missing targets or going for targets that were really dangerous kicks. So clearly, I don't know if that was the game plan, but it seemed to be that the way to get through Brisbane is to take it on and go aggressive.
If you're down by 3 or 4 goals, you're away from home. You might as well just take the game.
No, I'm talking first quarter. First quarter, everything was short chips corridor and really attacking corridor more than we've done at all this year. But we either missed a target or we took on a target that was too hard. Turned over, came back the other way. Our defense really stood up really, really well because we were getting peppered, and we stood up really well defensively. We just got the whole game was the thing. We just got brained around the ball. And it was, going from last week when we talked about, I praised our midfield for how well we'd done. Clean with the ball, below our feet, with disposal, hard at it, really just bullied Essendon off the ball.
Yeah.
It was the exact opposite last week. Brisbane smashed us. We couldn't get our hands on it. When we did get our hands on it, we were fumbly. Our disposal was poor. We were going at about 50-something% ourselves.
Yeah.
Missing targets, missing handballs. It just couldn't get our hands on it first. Stanley got slaughtered in the ruck. I'm not the biggest Stanley fan, but he has had his moments. He was very, very poor on the weekend. I don't rate Oscar McInerney as one of the top ruckmen in the league, and he just got slaughtered.
Yeah.
And it was too much on danger, basically.
Yeah, well, Big O had 33 hit-outs, 14 to advantage. Stanley had 31 hit-outs, so won it there, obviously. But then you look at that. That's one part of the story. You look at the sort of quality that Brisbane have around the ball as well, with Lachie Neale and Zach Bailey as well. Those numbers around the ball, that's where the difference lies. And
yeah, I think that's pretty much our team at the moment. I think that's our next transition. Is that
we certainly need that. We need another Joel in there in the sense of somebody who provides the boys, puts the head over the footy. He's not afraid of playing on the inside. I think at the moment we've got quite a few outside midfielders in terms of Tanner Bruin and Holmes as well. That just need another year in them, I think, or another pre.
I mean, Atkins gives everything he's got, but he's not an A grader. He's just a good, honest, hard-working footballer, and we love Tommy. But up against that midfield, he's short. So yeah, we just got slaughtered in the midfield. Just couldn't get our hands on it. And when we did, we just butched it. So that it's disappointing. We had our chances. Made a big comeback. Obviously, went for it. Gave ourselves a chance towards the end there. A couple of kicks we probably should have made and didn't quite pull it off, and we could have made it an even closer game than it was. But all in all, I don't think we take much from it, other than it just seems like a bit of a mulligan in terms of that was the exact opposite of the Essendon game. It was a combination of Brisbane played all right. I didn't think they played great. They had their team defence has clearly improved from last year. They're playing way better team defence, and teams can't walk through them anymore. Combined with the fact that we didn't play our best, and we got the result we got, like 64 to 53. It's a pretty poor game on a dry track at the Gabba. Shows how bad it was.
Tough place to go, mate. We've played some good games up there, and we've dropped games up there too, as you do. But in terms of what we've got coming up in regards to the fixtures, that's probably the one.
It would have been a bonus if we got it.
Of course, it would be a bonus if we got it. I mean, we need to win. We need to win games at the moment. But we've got up there and we didn't roll over and play dead. Obviously, we had a crack.
No, look,
everything else. So
it wasn't an effort. It wasn't an effort thing. The team obviously came with effort and want, but we were just poor. We just didn't execute. We were very, very poor. The other thing that was the big talking point, and it's almost gone from a talking point to a bit of concern for me. And that's the form of Jeremy Cameron. He is struggling. Now, I know we don't know everything there is to know behind the scenes, and he could be carrying a niggle. I mean, he had 2 weeks off, 3 weeks off concussion. So you think that would have freshened him up a little bit. And I was expecting him to come out, the Essendon game, rusty. Okay, you give him a bye. It's first one back. I really was expecting a big game from Jezza. Some of the fumbles and the way he was running into traffic and getting caught with the ball, and he was just not the Jezza that we know, and it's quite concerning how much he's dropped off in terms of his forms from the first half of the season.
I wouldn't read into it too much. I'm looking at the numbers in front of me here. Jezza played the whole game, didn't take a break. It was 100% of time on ground.
Yep.
Average for the year is 92%. So that's. Obviously, that's to take into account when he's been out of the team too. But, mate, we kicked 7 goals tonight. He's kicked 3-1 off 12 touches. 11 of those were kicks.
Yeah.
So
it's just not the same. It's not. It's a. When you look at the stats, you think, 3 goals, 12 touches, a couple inside 50s, a couple of score assists. I think he gave one off. He got one cheapie where they kicked it straight to him. He was literally hobbling off, and they kicked it straight to him. A couple he got over the back. He's gone cold. He's struggling. Just the way he's moving and the way his impact on the game, he just doesn't seem to be the player he was at the beginning of the year. Now, I'm not writing him off, and I'm not having a go at Jezza because he's been a fantastic player, and we love Jezza. But I just wonder behind the scenes if he's carrying a little something, and he just doesn't seem to be moving the way he was moving at the start of the year.
I mean, look, mate, he's had a bit of a run at it, but I just think my personal opinion would be that in the next few weeks, it's going to go one or two ways. We're going to completely go out of the arse with it, or these players that we keep talking about, Jazza, Guthrie come back in, Rowan to have a big game,
Missed Rowan on the weekend.
Brune, these sorts of players to really take that step up to make us competitive. He's kicked 3 at the Gabba in a game that we didn't win, where we were off in not just one area of the ground, that we're off in multiple. So I think the run home is a really good chance for him to get some form coming into when it actually matters. Can't be too hard. Had nearly 3 weeks off, and then he's had the trouble to.
I'm with you. I believe he can. I believe he will come good. I still have a lot of faith in Jezza, but I'm just flagging that he has. Even before the concussion, he was a bit cold, and he's come back and had 2 cold ones. If we're gonna go all the way from outside the top 4, you need someone like him going absolutely ballistic. You need him to play. You need him to have a massive final series.
Yeah.
So,
and look, mate, he either will be the only one, or he won't be.
Yeah.
And I think that's where the story is going to lie. Like, it's not going to take Jeremy Cameron on his own getting us over the line.
No. He's not. But he's definitely the cream on top. He's the cherry on top that we need.
3 goals in his next 4 games. Mate.
Yeah, on paper it looks all right.
We're having a different conversation altogether, aren't we?
So. Yeah, totally. Yeah. Look, on paper it's all good. It's just the eye test. He doesn't look like he's going that well. But hey, if he's kicking goals, yeah, I guess you're right. He's kicking goals. All right, so that was the game last week. Let's talk about what's happening this week, and that is our game at home at one of our. I think we've got 4 left. GMHBA Stadium. Fremantle 1:30 on a Saturday afternoon. I like a bit of Saturday afternoon footy. Reminds me of the old days at Cardinia Park. Coming up against a Fremantle team that they've got to be lucky that West Coast is in the competition, because they would be getting bashed from pillar to post in WA if they weren't, because they've been bad, mate. They've been really, really poor. Coming off a final last year.
Yeah.
What do you make? What do you think of the game coming up this weekend?
Well, like I say, we've got Freo GMHBA, Port at GMHBA, Collingwood at the G, St Kilda at Marvel, and then the Dogs at GMHBA. So we've got 5 games to go, and 3 of them are at GMHBA.
I'm going to try to get down for the Dogs game, I think.
No more outside of Victoria. So don't have to travel now. So it's our last travel for the year, playing the Lions, which is fantastic. I think, I think, we're going to come into the game as favourites. Teams came out earlier, so let's have a quick look at those.
Yeah, let's have a look who's in, because Rowan would be the one that would probably be making his way back as an automatic.
Yeah, Rowan's come in. It looks like Mike O'Connor's going to be the sub. Ocean Mullen's been omitted. Let's go from we'll go from the back 6, mate. So Colin Jasny, Jack Henry at fullback. Gary Rowan starting at fullback.
Come on now.
What do you get, mate? With probably swinging a late change there somewhere. I've got a feeling. Got a feeling that maybe who might be? Yeah, it might be Jack Bowes that slots in there in the back.
You think?
Guthrie and Xander Coning and Tommy Stewart making up the rest of the back 6. Mitch Duncan, Smithy on the ball. Your mate Isaac Smith.
My mate.
With Blitz next to him. Half forward line is Ollie Henry, Tommy Hawkins, and Tyson Stengel. And then the full forward line, here's the change, mate. Zach Toohey, Jeremy Cameron, and Brad Close there. So there might be light moving in the magnets coming in.
I think he might just to put the magnets in the wrong spot accidentally. Yeah.
On Saturday, Reece Stanley in the ruck, Dangerfield and Maxie Holmes starting on the ball. With Bosey, Tommy Atkins, Tanner Brune, and Brian Myers.
Ryan. Are you surprised? Any surprises there for you? just expected?
No, not really. I mean, I can see, they're not going to be exposing Ocean Mullen
No.
to too much footy in
No.
this year. He's going to be managed. The surprise is definitely Gary Rowan playing in the back pocket.
That'll definitely happen.
I mean, Tui loves a goal too, so you can see him going forward at some point. So,
Mm.
and again, the players on the outer and the emergencies, you've got Ocean Mullen again. He's been named out. Sam Menegola probably out of contract, and Radigalia also probably out of contract too. So
Yeah, interesting that Radigalia is not in that back six. I said this last week. I don't see him in our best back six, and I don't think he'll get a game for the rest of the year unless one of our boys goes down.
Radigalia seeing that Gary Rowland's got a game at fullback there.
Yeah, he'd be spewing. He's going, what? The other one would, I thought for a second that, Toby Conway's played a few games in the VFL now, our promising ruckman that we traded a couple of years ago, or drafted a couple of years ago. But then I thought he's coming up against Darcy. They're not going to want to do that. They'll put the experience of Stanley up against Darcy.
No, well, Darcy's out for the year, mate. So Sam Darcy's out for the year.
Is he out?
He's gone in for surgery, so he's
again.
He's out for the year. Yeah,
so Jackson's probably going one out.
Yeah, so it'll be Luke Jackson's playing as the low ruckman there for the Dockers.
Yeah, okay.
Jordan Clark making his return back for Geelong. Another game back at Geelong there for him.
Mm-hmm.
I guess my question would be, mate, is, and I'll give you my opinion first, and I'll see what you think. I think close to finals, you'd be pretty close to not taking too many magnets off the whiteboard now in terms of that you play, barring, of course, injuries and things of that nature. So, what are your thoughts on the run home in terms of where the squad's currently at?
Yeah, look, we should be, if we're any chance, these are games that we are either winning, all of them, or we are, running these good teams to playing our best and just getting, think about the Port Adelaide Collingwood game on the weekend. Now, Collingwood lost at home, but does anyone jump off the Port Adelaide bandwagon and say they're done because they lost to Collingwood by a couple of points? Not really. They didn't lose any admirers. They were up in that game. So you got to be winning 4 out of those 5, and you maybe drop a game to one of the good teams, but you've still played good football, and you can tip your hat and say, all right, yep, that's all right. We take that on the chin. But a game like Brisbane where you play poorly and lose, that doesn't build confidence heading into the finals. But I think the squad's in touch wood as good a shape as it can be. I think the most important part of our game is that back six. I think we can manage with a few players out in our forward mix, and we've shown that. But I think that back six is our biggest key to winning and going anywhere this year. Is that back six we've got now? I don't think Asava Radaglia gets back in there. I think Bose has impressed me a lot in the 2 games he's played. He was good against Brisbane again on the weekend. He was one of the few players that played well. And if he's in your squad and he's in your back line, we've talked about it before, he's very versatile. And if someone does go down, he can jump into midfield. He can play on a wing. He can pinch hit up forward. So he's a very versatile player. And I like him in our team for that reason. So, look, the squad's going well, as good as it can be. Your cream on, your cherry on top is Cam Guthrie coming back and hopefully getting some sort of game under his belt before finals. But more than likely, is he going to make it after the bye, the pre-finals bye? He's going to come back before that, they reckon? Or are they sort of putting him on ice and just they trust him to come back and be able to play a first final?
Yeah, look, I think they'll try and get run into him. It looks like Simon Lloyd was quoted as saying that his volume has increased significantly, and he's going to start to be involved in part training. So he's getting on the ball again, which is really good, and getting the footy in hands and probably doing more of that functional stuff as opposed to just getting the Ks in the legs.
Yeah.
I think, mate, that the pre-finals bye, you obviously want to be in the best shape you can coming into the finals. If it gives him an extra week where he might play half a game of VFL just to get his touch in, I think the biggest story for us this year has been, we're pretty pretty decent, down back, and we're pretty decent down forward. It's just that midfield. So
Yeah.
I think Cam adds another dimension for us in that midfield because he gives us a lot of run, and he's so clean with the peel as well. So
Yeah.
yeah, and I think we're in good shape. And there's probably a couple of names we'll get a bit nervous too as we come in towards the end of the year. But I mean,
Well, the thing is too, like you look at the injury list, like who, like at the middle part of the year, early part of the year, you're looking at that injury list, going, man, when we get him back, oh wow. Now who's really Cam Guthrie's the only automatic selection that's coming in. Now there might be some guys that can fluctuate in and out of the team if they're not up to scratch or they just don't play well or the mix doesn't work. But we're not really wanting for anyone to come back into this squad. It's really just Cam Guthrie to come back in.
I think you probably find that it'll be someone like Jack Bowes or who we got here. Sorry, Jack Bowes will probably be one of the unlucky ones to come out. I think if you're
He's
looking
making it hard to get him out though. He's playing. So he's definitely putting his name forward to be part of that back six. So it'd be very interesting to see the mix. I mean, it's a good spot to be. So we got no excuses. It just comes down to can we, as with this group, and it's a very strong group on paper, can we get to our best? Scotty's very confident. I think the players believe they got it in them. But it's not as easy as just flicking a switch either. So it's got to start in this 5-week block. You've got to be hitting the finals, playing some good footy.
Yeah, no, I think we've probably said plenty there. So we'll move on, mate. To obviously we want to get the win. So we're on to that segment where talk about
the cream. Yeah. Oh yeah. So this section is how do the Cats get the cream?
do that.
Basically, we want the win, but if you could add one cream on top, what's the thing you want to see the Cats do well on the weekend? On top of the win.
Jezza to kick 5.
Yeah, you stole my thunder. I was going to say Jezza to fire up because I want him to. I want him to put
I'm running on the field, to get it to me. So
yeah. I just want him to put my fears at ease and just have a big game. That's a good one. I think I'll go another player that I'd like to see light up, and I'd like to see Tyson Stengel get some form under his belt. Still patchy. He had a good game against Essendon, but some people would say that was a bit of a cheap kill because it was at North Melbourne. He played well, but both cheap kills could be won by a lot. He kicked a goal again at Gabba. It was a good goal, but he hasn't been as dangerous. I know he's been in and out and probably a bit interrupted, but we'd love to see him light up and just tear the place up. So
he had a non-Geelong get the cream at the moment. Just wouldn't mind seeing a few of these other results go our way to clear up some space.
Well, there's an 8-pointer. GWS is playing the Bulldogs, so that's an 8-pointer.
Yeah, there's Melbourne.
Essendon and Sydney's a mini eliminator
over Richmond because they're chasing us. I've got a feeling the Hawks will do the Saints in this weekend. The way that
the Saints are struggling. Hawks are in better form.
And then
I'll have to see the team sheet for those ones before my tip sits in that. But they do us a favour. I mean, God help Hawthorn doing us a favour. But yeah, they'd do us a favour if they could knock over St Kilda.
Yeah.
So there's a few results that could help us. Could get back up into 5th by the end of the round. I think it's possible we go to 6th because I think both Western Bulldogs and GWS are going to go ahead of us no matter what. So.
Well, like I say, the teams that are on our hammer at the moment in terms of being on 38 points are Carlton and Richmond, and they're respectively playing Collingwood and Melbourne. So we'll be on we'll certainly be on the Pies and the Demons this weekend. And if we can get the chocolates there, then looking at the ladder, we should potentially, barring results for the Doggies, the Giants, and St Kilda, we could get up to 5th or 6th this weekend.
Okay, awesome.
So that would
Then we got the big one against Port Adelaide. That's going to be the big one. That's the 8-point game.
The big one. That's the one.
The next thing we talk about with the game, we talk about how the Cats get the cream, but what's the 9 live? So this is the disaster mode. What do you not want to see? Obviously a loss, but what would be worse? A win and something bad.
yeah, no, I would say up at 3/4 time and for our run top of us, and ruining the big occasion of Scotty's through our fifth.
Yeah, Scotty losing this game was Scotty's. I was actually at that game in 2022 early. I think it was around 6 last year when we were basically braining them. I was enjoying my beers at half time, going, "How good is this footy game?" Sitting in the sunshine at Cardinia Park, beautiful. And then we didn't score. I don't think we scored one in the second half. They just overrun us and smashed
Is that
us.
when Blitzar's got one with 30 seconds to go?
Yeah. We thought we were in it, and
Yeah.
no. It was brutal. It was
Turning point in the year, mate, because we didn't lose many games after that.
No, but that's why I didn't go down this year, because I was like, I can't, because the last time Fremantle I went down and watched GWS did us in as well, so I didn't go down for this one. I'll hopefully go down for the Western Bulldogs game. Mine would be
could be a chance to get up here for finals, mate. You never know.
You never know. My 9 lives would be we just talked about our ruck situation with some big bodies coming up. I'd hate to see Stanley go down again and have to expose Blitzarv's permanent ruck, or to have the young fella Toby Conway come in when he's before his time. So, as much as I don't think Stanley's setting the world on fire, he does provide a contest, and he's a big body that we need in that team. So, losing Stanley this late without the chance of getting him back, that'd be a bad one.
I don't think you bring in someone who hasn't played VFL so late in the year to play. I think we'd then go with the Blitzar's experiment.
Yeah, but I don't think that.
In there well, and Hawk can do a job down forward.
Yeah,
so,
I don't think that helps. I don't think that helps us. I don't think that makes us a stronger team to have Blitz rucking all day. But anyway, that'd be my bad one. Blitz rucking for the rest of the year. All right, dude. Well, that was good. Hopefully we get the win, and we'll be talking positive even next week and building up the big game against Port Adelaide. The last thing we do on the pod, we always finish off something a bit random. Last week I gave you some would you rather's. It's your turn. Have you got any for me?
How like punchy are we going here, mate?
Because mate, you can go as well. You can go whatever you want. I'm an open book, mate.
I'll pick one at random here, mate, because I've got a couple here, but to be honest, I found some better ones.
Okay, yeah,
all right. How many we go, mate? We go 3.
3's good. Yeah, we're rapid fire. We're almost at the hour mark, so we'll try. We'll probably bored people for enough. We'll get to the hour.
All right. Well, here's the first one. All right. So, would you rather?
This is gonna be fruity, isn't it? All right, here we go.
Would you rather? Oh, we haven't introduced Sam this week, mate.
I think we'll do a would you rather for Sam next week.
Right, yeah, okay.
I'll come up with some questions for Sam.
Yeah, it's probably already been done, but all right. would you rather, Garthy,
all right,
have another 10 years with your partner or a one-night stand with your celebrity crush? Do you have a hall pass, Garthy?
I've got plenty of hall passes. Nah, that's an easy one. You go 10 years with your partner. Just if it was more like 10 years with your partner or 5 years with your celebrity crush, I'd probably take celebrity crush.
Okay, but then this is a double hand.
One night, like
it's a
dead after one day.
Hyphenated one. Who's your celebrity crush?
Oh shit. I've had to pick one.
He's a very loving man, Garthy. He loves a few people. He loves me a lot too, which is good.
Yeah, you're not it. No, you're not it.
That's good. Excellent.
Oh man, it's like one of those. Now you've asked me, my mind's gone blank. Margot Robbie's up there.
Say no more. We'll go with that.
Yeah, Margot Robbie's not bad. She goes good.
So she's your Barbie girl, mate, in the Barbie world?
Yeah, I'll be her Ken any day. Yeah, she goes all right.
Yeah, as long as you wrap it in plastic, mate, you should be right.
She's a good girl. Don't talk about Margot like that. She's a good Aussie girl from Naples,
All right. Well, Margot Robbie is a celebrity crush for our man.
I'm not alone there. I reckon there'd be a few Cats fans.
There's probably certainly a few there. All right. Would you rather, Gartholomew, Might see that. Bartholomew. That's the one, mate. Would you rather wear the same socks for a month or the same ducks for a week?
Oh shit. Oh. I'm trying to think which one stinks more. I probably could easily go wearing my undies for a week. I don't think that'd be a problem. Like, it wouldn't bother me, but it would bother my partner.
Well,
But
bother Margot, wouldn't it?
Yeah, Margot's not going to like that. But I reckon my socks would get stinkier after a month. So I'll go jocks for a week.
Okay, all right.
I mean, jocks aren't that bad, are they? I mean, how dirty do your jocks get? You have a shower every night. They're just fabric.
Well, you can turn them inside out, can't you?
Whereas your feet get stinky. Like, yeah, you run around, you get sweaty. Yeah, jocks for a week. Easy.
Good man. Well, that's good to know.
Is that it? I thought they were going to get fruitier than that. Oh, that's all right.
No, we've got one more, mate.
All right.
How like? Well, you've gone, mate. Where are you?
Oh, I'm here.
No, you've gone. I thought you'd gone there. So, we've got one more.
All right, bring it on.
Let's have a look for one here, mate. We need a good one to finish this one off.
These aren't hard choices so far.
We may have a bonus round here. Just
I really have to think about it.
So here we go. All right. Would you rather receive $1 amount that doubles every day, or receive $20 million right now?
Yeah. Now I know. I've heard this one. I know the smart answer is
give me
the $1.
Yeah, go on.
Because when you double it every single day, it becomes more than 20 million really quickly. But I'm taking the 20 million now. Like, I'm not waiting. I'm not going to wait for the dollar to turn into like hundreds of millions of dollars, because that takes, give me the 20 million now. That means I can go party tomorrow and do whatever I want, and then I get hit by a bus tomorrow. Like, I'm taking the 20 million now. I'm not waiting. You said give me 20 million now. Taking it. Easy.
That's to be fair, mate. That's a pretty good answer, isn't it?
Like, I know the smart answer is you get more money if you go the $1, but 20 million, give it to me right now. See, quit my job so I can out the door.
Take your 20, put it in a high interest account, live off the interest.
Not even. I'm blowing it on.
Old answer.
I'm blowing it on a trip around the world and doing anything I want to do. Bribing my way into every golf course that I want to play.
I'm blowing on a trip around the world with Margot Robbie and the finest underwear.
I'm saying, Margot, I got 20 million. Let's go. Come on. She's like, yeah.
Underwear and socks that you can buy.
I'll say, come on the private jet, but the only problem is, like, my undies stink, but we're going to go around the world, and she'd be up for it. And see, I could wear my undies in, like, the ocean. That would wash them, so that'd be fine.
So you're a logical man, mate.
I'm already thinking. See, yeah, you got me on this rabbit hole now. I'll start thinking about it too deeply.
We're going to go the bonus one here, mate.
All right, last one.
This is the deep dive now.
Oh shit.
Would you rather know the day you're going to die, or the way that you die?
Oh, that's a good one.
It's a good one, mate. I've saved the best for last. This was going to be probably the first one, so I've done the old flippy on you. So we'll go would you rather know the day that you are going to die, or the way that you kick the bucket?
This is one of my, this is triggering, because I genuinely think about this all the time. Like, I'm always like, I don't want to know how I'm going to go, but I do want to know how I'm going to go. It's like this constant, like that. I think I want to know.
We might go 5. I've got one more.
I want to know when. Because if I know when, then I could just live my life accordingly. I'd be like, right, I've got 6 months left. I'm not working for the next 6 months. I'm not doing that. See you later. I'm just having fun for 6 months. Whereas if I know how I'm going to go, I'd be avoiding all these fun things, thinking, well, that could be... Yeah, I'd go when.
You'd go when. Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, hopefully it's not any time too soon, mate, because we need you tomorrow night. So,
Well, let's hope it's not before Friday night. Yeah, exactly.
no, that's it. All right,
Are we wrapping up? We're over an hour. Are we wrapping up?
we'll go one bonus one, and then we'll
All
call.
right. Better be a good one.
So, all right. Would you rather eat shit or
Assuming that I haven't.
be locked in a room with a funnel web for 3 hours, but not know where the funnel web is? Ooh!
How big? Oh, see, these are all like, how big's the room?
I'm gonna say
Are we talking like jail cell size or like a house?
no. I'm gonna say your downstairs toilet.
Oh, wow.
Because
And
you
is
can't
the funnel
big
is the
room.
funnel web trying to kill me?
Well, it's not exactly trying to fucking give you a kiss, is it?
No, but I mean, like, is it scared? Like, like in reality, it'd be scared of me and just run away. But if it's like some sort of crazed spot in this
No,
weird reality we're living in, it's trying to kill me. It's trying to kill me.
Close, mate, they'll come at you and they'll have a crack.
Um,
The most aggressive spider on the planet, apparently. So,
how much poop is it? Like, do I have to eat it, like swallow it, or just have to lick it? What do I have to do?
you're gonna eat it. So, what does the term eating define? This is a legitimate question.
I know. I'm seriously. These are the questions I would be asking. If someone gave me this deal, I'd be like, is it a big one? Is it a small one? Is it a hard one? Is it a sloppy one?
I'm gonna say.
I'll take the spider, I guess. I could probably fend for myself against a spider. I can't really uneat poop, so I'd have to live with that for the rest of my life. Whereas at least if I die from a spider bite, I'd be like, at least I went out fighting. So
You wouldn't go out. You wouldn't go out screaming and crying like a little bitch.
well, I hope not, but at least it's better than eating poop, I guess.
So you're going with potential.
I got to live with that for the rest of my life. Nah.
Wouldn't that be? Isn't that interesting? The question previously. What if what if you found out the way you died was
a funnel web spider?
It were bitten by a funnel
at the same time.
Would you really want to know?
I don't think I'd. Well,
now
I'd be like, why would I? I'd actually want to know because I'd be like, why would I be doing that? That's so weird. Glad I know. Because if then it happens, you'd be like, oh, this is it.
Every time you go to the bathroom, mate, you'd be thinking, this is it.
Well, no, because you'd know it was coming. You'd be like, oh, this is it. Oh, okay. Makes sense now. Yeah. Fascinating.
Excellent.
All right, dude.
This has been Would You Rather with Bartholomew Coyle.
There you go. All right, well, let's wrap it up because we've gone way over time. Sorry, everyone who's bored. And if you probably haven't, you probably turned us off a long time ago when we started doing this. As soon as you heard the word shit, you probably...
This is your idea, not mine. I just facilitated it.
You probably heard the word shit and you probably just hit, nah, I've had enough. I don't want to know where this goes. Thanks for the pod, dude. Hopefully we get a win. We'll see you tomorrow night at the footy. Thanks for all the people.
We come away with 2 wins this weekend, mate. One for the Mighty Doggies and one for the...
Yeah, double whammy. Let's get it done.
Man, Scotty.
And thanks to those people who are checking this out. We'll chuck it up on the forums, and hope you give us a listen and give us some feedback. And we'll see you next week for another episode of the Gretest Pod of All. Peace, dude.
Up the Catters.
Up the Cats.
Up the Catters. See you, mate.
See you, mate.